All right, so I'm going to turn it over. So we have an expert here on campus in adult education. Is that no?
Workforce development.
Workforce development. And so she does this, and she talks about job skills and interviewing and resume building. So rather than me talking about it, she does all these trainings for it. So I'm going to pass it along to her. And this is mobile. So if you want to like take it so you can click, or you can put it over here to click through. So you don't have to just keep going back and forth. Whatever you want to do. All right, but I'm going to turn it on over.
Okay, I'm Jerica Knight. I work in Workforce Development, Career Resource Coordinator. I've been in this position for about 3 to 4 months now. I initially started in admissions for about 2 years, and so I'm happy to be in this position and in this role. A lot of the things that I do, I go out to the high schools and I help the students with job skills, interview skills, if they want scholarships, if they're trying to get part-time jobs, anything like that, and I also help them with resume writing. On campus, I'm able to help current students and students that have graduated, recently graduated. So if it's 3 years down the line and they don't have a job or they need these skill sets to get a job, they can come to me, and those services are provided to them. It's 2 grants, so I can't turn students away. So if you've graduated and you're thinking, I don't have a job, I don't know how to get a job, I don't know what jobs may be out there, you're able to come to me and I can find jobs for you and put you in placements. So don't think you're like stuck or you don't have the resources, because I'm here to provide those resources to you. So this PowerPoint today is about job interview skills. Anybody been on job interviews lately? Not really, but you're getting to that point. Okay, so different job choices. You would choose what jobs that you would want. So are you currently working? Do you like the work that you're currently doing? And name 3 jobs you would be interested in. So these are some types of things that I do with the high school students, because some of them don't know what they want to do just yet. 9th through 12th grade, you're not sure where you want to go, if you want to work full time or if you want to attend school. So with you all, you already have that set and you know what you want to do. So it's either working in a daycare facility, being a teacher, working Head Start, different things like that. So you already have it set in stone of what you want to do. So it's just basically trying to figure out what locations. Do you want to stay in the state? Do you want to move? What are the qualifications? What credentials do you have to have? Because sometimes you may need different credentials in different states. So just trying to figure out where you want to be. Some individuals may not want to go into the school system. They may want to work at a daycare. Or you can also think about, would you like to own your own daycare facility? And then I know some of the colleges now, they have the daycare facilities attached. So you're able to go there and work part-time, and you're able to go to school if you want to go back for your bachelor's. And Troy University has that program. So do I have any questions so far about that? I think you all are pretty set in stone of what you want to do, or how many want to be teachers, okay, or work in daycare facilities. Okay.
What is the age? What is the age that you want to work with? So those who are like thinking daycare. So you've been early Head Start with infants and toddlers. Is that the age that you think?
Toddlers.
Okay.
Toddlers.
What about you over there, Ms. Baxter? So you were in a pre-K classroom. Is that like the age you want to be in, or you want to be younger?
Yeah, I can do pre-K.
Okay.
Pre-K.
All right. And the 2 of you, you're thinking about going on to get your bachelor's to be a teacher in okay.
So are you going to try to stay here in Alabama to go to school for your bachelor's, or are you plan on leaving?
I'll probably move out of state.
Okay. So just remember, different qualifications, different, certifications that you may have to obtain if you go to different states. But that's great. Some of the tests are easier in different states. I've been through those things. So, and then right now, like I was telling some other students, the tests are on hold right now. So a lot of students are able to go in with a bachelor's degree and become a teacher. And they have a pathways route that you can take to become a teacher. One of my friends is actually a kindergarten teacher right now, and her degree is in criminal justice. But it's a shortage of teachers right now. So she was able to go in with a bachelor's degree from Troy and get this certification through the school. So right now they're letting you teach on emergency certificates for 2 years. You just have to call and ask. When you fill out your application, you just put a note in there and upload your information and just say, I'm willing to get that alternative certification so that I can teach in the classroom. And then that way, like she was saying, that's going to give her an idea if she wants to stay in elementary or if she wants to try to work with that, criminal justice degree. Because it may be something, you may feel different once you get in the classroom. This may not be for you. It happens. So doing the student teaching and going out into the classrooms and getting this experience is very vital so that you'll know this is something that I want to do. I see myself doing this for the rest of my life because you're going in there every day dealing with these students and you need to have a good attitude. So if you don't think that's something that you can handle, you may need to take a step back. So sometimes this student teaching is supposed to be the time that you go in and realize, okay, this is my job that I want to do for the rest of my life, or maybe I need to go try to figure out something else. And I know some of my friends, they like the daycare setting. They don't want to go into the classroom. So it just depends. Everyone is different. So we need all of you because there's some, like you said, pre-K, you want to go into 4 years so you can, work in a school. So it just depends on the person. So we covered that because you know what job choices that you want. And one thing that I tell individuals before they go on interviews or before they even apply for positions, research the company, research the schools that you're going to, decide if this is a school that you want to work with. Sometimes research the principals. Do you want to work for a good person? Do you know this person? Do you have friends or do you have individuals that know this individual or know about the school or that has been there? Ask questions. It doesn't hurt to, do some research about that school. With me, recently, I left Wallace and went to ACOM. Did I do much research? I went for money. That was not a good idea. I was able to come back to Wallace, but I left for 2 years and I was in a setting where I was unhappy. The money was there, but I didn't like what I was doing. I did not like the people. So you just need to do your background and do your research. What may work for one individual may not work for you. And I would say, when you go into this field, you're not going into it for money. So you have to have a heart for it. You have to love it. And you have to, really, some days it's going to be tough, but you just get back up and you keep rolling because those students need you. So like I said, research the company. Think if that's where you want to work. Like I said, if you said you're going to a different state or you may want to move, find out individuals that may have been in the school system for several years or that's been at a certain school and ask them questions. Don't be afraid. What do you like about this school? What don't you like? Everything is not going to be perfect, but you have to weigh your pros and cons. Okay, and so here are some of the most 10 common interview questions that students come back to me and they'll say, well, they asked this or they asked that. And these are some questions that I've been asked. The first question, I know that most interviews, they're going to ask everyone, tell me a little bit about yourself. So it's always important to have you a script. It's okay to, do it beforehand. You don't have to wait until you're in that interview process and you're up there screaming for trying to figure out what answers. Who knows you better than you know yourself? So maybe if you get called for an interview, you get called on a Monday and the interview is Thursday. Take some time every day to go over some questions. You can always go on Google. You can utilize me. You can utilize your instructors. Ask questions. That's another service that I offer, mock interviews. So if you want to come in and spend 45 minutes, an hour with me, I can go over some questions with you. If you have a list of questions, you can give them to me and we can rehearse them back and forth. But take some time out of your day so that you know what you're going to be asked. Think of things quickly, some things that you can think of off the top of your head so that you're not trying to scram for answers at the last minute. And getting stumbling on your words and things like that.
And then sometimes when they do that too, when they're asking you questions like, tell me about yourself, if you're not prepared, you might tell them much more personal things about yourself than what they're looking for. Because You're just like, I'm just talking to you and I'm just blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So having something prepared will keep you from over sharing. Right. They don't need to know your life story.
They don't. And that's one thing, when you get nervous, sometimes you filibuster or you say things that you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But at the time it's done, it's out. So I always say, answer the questions that they ask you and don't give any extra information. Kind of like you're in court. So another thing is, why are you suitable for this job? What characteristics can you bring to the table? Why do you want to work for this company? And that goes back to researching that company. If you don't know anything about the school, or if you don't know anything about what they do in the community, things like that, how are you going to answer that? Why do you want to leave your current job? So if you don't have a job already, you don't have to worry about that question. But sometimes they ask that. And I tell students, you don't have to go and tell someone that you got fired. You don't have to tell someone that you didn't like a person there. You don't go in an interview and say those things, because they're looking for the quality of person that you are. And they're also looking to see if you're going to be a job hopper. If you've already left this company and you're trying to go somewhere else, they're trying to get a feel for, why did they leave? Are they going to leave this company? They're wanting someone long-term most of the time. As you all know, if you're working in a school setting, most of the time it's going to be 9 months. Do you think they want to try to find a teacher in the middle of the year? So these are things that they're going to ask you. And sometimes they can call your old employer and ask questions, but some of the jobs are not supposed to answer certain questions. They can give information like if you were late all the time and that's the reason they let you go. But personal details, they can't go into detail and give that information. It's against the law. So another thing would be, what are some of your biggest strengths and what are your weaknesses? And I also have a list of how to answer weaknesses. So if I need, I'll probably email it. But you have to learn how to answer that question. Some of your weaknesses, you wouldn't want to go in there and say, oh, I have a problem with being on time. No, you wouldn't want, you wouldn't want to go in there and say, oh, no, you don't want to say that. So you have to try to find a weakness that you can work on, that you can show improvement. So you would, think of things like that. Where do you see yourself in maybe 5 years? I had an interview at an elementary school. That was one of the first questions she asked me. What was my ultimate goal coming to that school? I was honest with her. My ultimate goal was to get my master's degree, and I wanted to work for a college. So that was her choice, whether she wanted to hire me, because she knew I wasn't going to be there long term. And I'm always honest when I go on a job. I was maybe 23, 24. So I was working on a master's degree, and that job was only paying like $25,000. So I know she didn't think I was going to stay. So I just went ahead and, explained that to her, what my ultimate goal was in the next 5 years. Sometimes if you're honest with them and you explain where you're trying to go, this individual has recently called me back and asked, do I want to be a second grade teacher? They remember these things. They remember the goals that you tell them that you're trying to achieve. And she watched me. Even though I worked in the office, this lady watched me. And she also let me become an extended day worker. So she saw that I was good with those kids. And even though my background, I ended up getting my master's in adult education. But she wanted me to come back to be a second grade teacher. But I chose not to. But at the same time, you don't know who's watching you. When you step foot into those schools, you're on an interview. When you're doing student teaching, I say when you're walking around here out in the streets, when you're at the grocery stores, anywhere, you're on an interview. You don't know who's watching you. This lady, this individual hired me from working at the bank. I was working at the bank as a teller manager. She came in every day, the principal of the school, to do their deposits. My soft skills and hard skills, I had no background in working at elementary school. I hadn't been at the bank until I was finishing up my bachelor's. But she gave me the opportunity to work in that school, and that gave me my skill set and my tips and my training so that I can move into this position. So like I said, you just never know. So always be nice, be pleasant, keep your head on strong, ask questions when in doubt, and you never know what type of job you may land. So what are your salary expectations? Research that as well. Have something written down, a set salary that you expect to get. Don't just go with what anyone tells you. If you have certain credentials or qualifications that other individuals may not have, you're able to get compensated for those things. Like, look at the raises now. The teachers are getting a 4% raise. I know you all have saw that. The amount of years that you have been in the school setting determines what type of raise you get. My cousin, for example, I had to tell her, you just got a master's degree. Why didn't you go back and ask for your pay incentive? So just small things like that that people may not know. She's only 24. She wasn't thinking about, her pay incentive for getting a master's degree. All she had to do was get her transcript and turn it in. And that was a different pay grade. So just small things like that. Some individuals may not tell you, but if you don't ask, you will never know. So they may forget to come back. They don't have time to go sit step by step for every student and say, oh, well, they got a bachelor's, they got a master's, we're going to have to do this. It's your job to go in and ask questions. Well, I just got this certification. Am I able to get more pay? Or I just got this degree. And you normally go to the superintendent's office or central office and ask these questions, and they're able to, give you those incentives. Tell me about a time when you had to work with a difficult person. That's a question that you get all the time. And I think that was a question on that list. Or how do you work with irate children or, behavior problems? So they ask those types of questions because they want to know, how are you going to react in a setting, in a job setting? You're supposed to remain professional at all times. They don't want disruptive individuals in their company working for them. So just be mindful of how you answer those questions. If you do get upset at work, take a cool down period. If you have to go outside and take 5 minutes, or if you have to walk to the restroom to calm down, but try not to get irate with the individual. I know it may be hard, but most of the time you're going to be working with these children, and some days you may not like them. Some days their parents will bother you, helicopter parents. But you have to remain professional at all times and remember your goals and what you worked hard for, and don't ever let anyone, get you out of character. So they may ask you a question like, tell me more about da 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 da. So another thing that I tell students, don't lie on your resume. If you haven't done something or you hadn't achieved something, don't lie, because they may go find that one question that you've lied about and ask you some detailed information, and then you don't have anything to say. So I always say, go on your resume, what you've detailed and what you've listed, go over it. Like if you said you were on SGA, they may ask you, what was SGA? I know that it's Student Government Association, but did you know that? So they may not have been in that type of club. So they want to ask you things to find out more in depth of what type of person you are, what clubs you've been associated with. So if you don't know what you've put down on your resume, or if you've got a friend to do it for you, they know all the information and you don't. That's not a good look when you're doing an interview and what's on your resume doesn't align to what you're saying. So just remember those types of things as well. So I know she said you already did your resume and references, so I really won't go over this, but like I said, always ensure that it's error-free. You can get someone to check over it for you. Your education and training, make sure you list your license and certifications or any other credentials, special skills, if you were in the military, volunteer experience, because I have some students that say, well, I didn't think that really counted. Junior Civitan Club, or it was one guy that was, can't think of it right now. Well, he was in a lot of sports and things like that, and he thought that he couldn't list those. I told him, no, list everything that you've done in, high school. And then when you get to college, you're able to update that information if you're on any clubs or any programs in college. So we were able to put those things for him. He was trying to get a scholarship. So I said, you need to list these things that you've accomplished. References. I always tell students 3 references is enough. If they don't ask for it, don't provide it. Most of the applications online, I know for Dothan City School, I recently was on that application. They want you to put 3 references in. And most of the time you have to have the name, the phone number, and sometimes they ask for an address or an email address. When you're putting references down, make sure that you contact that person and let them know. Listen, I've, put your name down for XYZ job. This is what I've listed. Most of the time, you may list something and then they go and ask your friend or your family member, whoever you put down, they ask them, are you a family member? Most of the time, you don't need to put family members down for references. I've seen it so many times where students have mama and daddy listed. And I said, baby, you can't list mom and daddy. Mom and daddy are always going to have good things to say about you. So you want to try to find co-workers that you've had, instructors. If you have close family friends, like maybe distant family, you can try to utilize them. But anyone close, like mom, dad, grandma, brother, sister, you don't want to list them. But just let that person know that you've listed their name down and that they may be receiving a call so that they won't feel blindsided and they know how to answer the questions when they do get the call. And this is another thing that I had, as far as the reference list of how to list things, and I just explained that, but any questions? Okay. So prepare questions for your interviewers. Like when you go out and interview, you may have questions that you want to ask them. So this is another thing that you can do beforehand. You can Google that company. You can Google questions that, what should I ask for elementary setting, or what should I ask for a daycare center? You can go in and ask those questions on Google and they'll give you lists. So what do the tasks entail on a routine basis? Like, what are your requirements? What are you supposed to do? What's expected of you? So anytime you're going into a job, you want to know what you're expected to do. So you wouldn't want to go into a job and no one's telling you your qualifications, like what you have to do. So you go into a classroom and you're just sitting there. You don't know what time your students are coming in, they're arriving. You don't know if you have bus duty. So those are things that you want to ask. What time do I need to report to work? Some of you may have kids. You may not be able to get to work at that certain time. So asking these questions when you go out to the employers so that you'll know what's expected is a good thing, because that may not be the job for you if you can't get there at a certain time. If you know you have to pick up your kids by 3:30 and you can't leave the school until 4 o'clock, that's going to be an issue. So ask these questions. Do the schools have extended day? Are you required to work extended day? Most of the time, they don't leave until 5:30. Would this be an incentive if I did work it? Will there be meetings, after school meetings? How long will I have to stay? Because most of the time there are either meetings before work or after work. So just trying to plan your schedule and ask these questions. Do you have a good training program for new employees to help them be successful? Most of the time they have lead teachers. Lead teachers are there to guide you and instruct you and try to help you along the way. So just ask those things. Do they have lead teachers? Is there a program that you can go? Most of the time they have professional development. Sometimes I do professional development here, but I think I've done it more when I worked at the elementary school. It was just random, but sometimes it would be over the summer where you can go to these programs and get the trainings that you need. Does your company have a teamwork culture? Do you work together as a team? I like working with a company that works like teamwork because you want that support. Being first year, if you're going to be a first year teacher, first daycare assistant, you want support. You're brand new. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen, but you don't want to make many of those mistakes. So that's why you need someone that can guide you, that can lead you along the way, that's been in that field for a long time. And that's mostly what the lead teachers are. They've been in that job for maybe 15, 20 years, and they know the ins and outs, and they're able to guide and mold you. So just ask, are they, teamwork oriented? How can I be successful in this position? Are you wanting to stay in that role that you're in? Are you trying to move up? So that's another question. How long will it take you to move up? I know for me, I like to work maybe 2 years, and if I'm not getting a raise or an incentive of trying to move up, there's a problem. So what can I do as a person so that I can strive to move up? I don't want to stay in the same position forever. So you have to think about those things. If you get this certification, if you get this degree, will you get more pay? Will you get, ask those questions. Is there room for you to grow within the company? For me, when I worked at Hidden Lake, I worked in the office. There was a lot of room for growth, but sometimes individuals may try to keep you stagnated. So it's up to you to make these choices, whether you need to stay in a role or if you need to move up so that you can grow and progress. What are some of the challenges that you may face in a department? So day to day, have any of you, like when you went out into the schools, saw any issues or problems that may have arisen?
I'm sure you have. Can't walk into a school without something.
So the thing was, is it a challenge? Is this a challenge that you think you can handle? Or is this something that you're just going to be like, I'm going to dread going to work every day? So that's another thing that you have to think about. And I know now going into the schools is tough. It's with COVID and everything, it's a shortage. Some of the students are there half of the time, some of them are not, or they're doing virtual. So I know that it's tough, but at the same time, what is your ultimate goal? So just think of those things, and those are some questions that you can ask. And I believe employers will be happy if you come to them with a couple of questions. I would say not go over to, not to have more than 2 or 3 questions, but that shows that you're interested and you want to know more about that school. So research, just do your research on it. Okay, so this is before, during, and after the interview. So in the beginning, I would say prepare. Always prepare your outfit to match the job type at least 2 days before the interview, making sure your clothes are neat, clean, not too firm fitting, not revealing of cleavage or short openings. So I would always tell students, stand up. Your hands, fingertips. That's how they done us in school, high school. Try to make sure that your skirt or a dress that you have on is fingertip length or longer. You don't want to go in and you accidentally bend over and you have all this hanging out. I've seen it. We had an individual to interview at ACOM. They literally stood there and watched her out the window, bend over, because they would watch to see when interviewers would pull up, because we had security, so they knew which cars to look for. Literally watched this lady bend over, and they said, "Oh, well, we think that shirt, that dress she has on is too short." You don't know who's watching you. She didn't know they were upstairs watching her on the 3rd floor. So they had something to say about how she was dressed. I always try to get to know a person. I don't think I'm not looking at what you're wearing, because at this day and time, nobody wants to work hardly. So you kind of take what you can get. So I don't try to look at your clothes, but most of the time, they're going to be looking at something at your clothes. I try to get to know you and see your qualifications and skills. But that was one thing they didn't like, something that she had on. So just be mindful of what you wear. And that brings me to another thing. I have a career closet. So in my department, I'm over in Gary Hall, 155. I have donations from individuals. We have a steamer. We have things that can clean. So if you don't have blazers, if you don't have dress pants, shoes, we even have jewelry. You're able to come and get 3 items per semester. And I also can assist you of how to dress if you don't have something to wear. Or if you have friends that may think, I don't know what I need to wear, I just don't know. They're able to come over. So just let them know. They don't have to be stressed out about not having anything to wear for an interview. And once you get those items are yours. You don't have to return them. So you can get some pretty good things. I think I had one individual to come donate Calvin Klein suits. Those are expensive. So just things like that. So even if you think you have a whole lot of things, come in and check some of the blazers out. You just never know what you may find. So things that you would bring, try to bring at least 2 copies of your resume with your references, preferably on resume paper without typos, and make sure the papers are neat and clean. You don't want to go to an interview and your resume is balled up or it's sprinkled, or you've gotten out the car and it's like blue and you're trying to grab it. Try to keep you a portfolio case. Most of the time when you go in interviews, they already have a copy of your resume, but just in case they don't or they forget, you'll have a backup for them. Bring a notebook and pen. Take notes during your interview. Do not use your cell phone to take notes. That's not a good look. They may be thinking that you're texting. Your cell phone should be put away and on silent. Most interviews, I left my phone in the car, like in the glove box, so it wouldn't overheat. Because I didn't want them to think I was more interested in my phone and I wasn't interested in them or the interview, or I didn't want it to accidentally go off. Because when in doubt, you take a phone and you think you've got it turned off, it just starts ringing. That happens a lot of time in church, right? So I would just say, just leave it in the car, or if you make sure that it's turned off. And that way you don't have to worry about those things, because that's tough if you're on an interview and you're thinking, what if my phone goes off? Did I remember to put it on silent? Those are things you don't want to have to be worried about. It's enough stress going into the interview. So small things that you don't have to worry about, just leave it in the car. And make sure that you make eye contact as much as possible. Engage the interviewer and treat everyone you meet respectfully. Front desk clerk, janitor, other people waiting for interviews. Always, I say be classy. Don't be rude. because you never know who you may need. You would be surprised. I don't know if many of you watch TikTok, but I've watched a TikTok video where an individual went in for an interview and she was dressed nice. She thought she was top notch and she was rude to the janitor. She thought it was the janitor. And it ended up being the person that she had to interview with. So you never know who you're dealing with. So that's why I say be nice to everyone that you meet and show them respect. Know the exact location and distance to the interview. Arrive 20 to 30 minutes early. Check your appearance in the restroom, then sit and observe your surroundings and have a backup plan for emergency transportation. So just think, if you get up in the morning and you go out and your car doesn't crank and you have an interview, who are you going to call to take you? See, these are things that you may not think about, but you just never know. You can go outside when your car is fine. You may have a brand new car, but something may happen with the battery. And most of the time, these types of things happen when you have interviews or if you have appointments. It's going to happen. I'm sorry, it just does. So that's what that means. Have backup plan for your transportation of how you're going to get there to that interview. Because it's not a good look to cancel or to call and say, I'm not going to make it. Now I know emergency situations may arise, but if they do, try to give that employer enough time to maybe reschedule your appointment, or if they want to interview someone else. Don't just leave them out in limbo and they don't know if you're coming or not, or you haven't gave them enough time to do what they needed to do, to reschedule someone else. And know the exact location. If this is a new place that you don't know anything about, I would say just try to put it on your GPS and ride by there one day, just to see where you're going or where you may need to park. You don't want to be flustered the day of your interview and you're around rushing and trying to grab things, because I'm telling you, your mind, you may not think it now, but you will forget what you practiced, what you planned for, because you're trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get there? Where am I going to park? The traffic is heavy. Give yourself enough time. Get up in the mornings, meditate, get a good breakfast, drink something. Most of the time when you're in interviews, if you're standing up talking, some people's legs lock. Just small things like that you don't think of. You don't want to fall out in the interview. So have something on your stomach, something small, so that you're going in and your brain is focused and you're ready to answer the questions that they have for you. Any questions about that?
I just want to say that lots of us ran into the situation this semester with your practicum placement site. You knew where to go because you went to that school, but like Sarah and I, what's the name of the school? Geneva County Elementary? It's not Geneva City. Geneva County Elementary is on the same campus as the Geneva County High School, but there's not an address for the elementary school side. And so you get there and you're like, I don't know where to park. I don't know how to go in. I don't know. And like, we had no idea. Macy did, but the rest of us had no idea how to get there. And then at your school, that was the first time that you guys had been there, right? At Lisenby?
Oh, with where?
Oh, okay. But try to figure out where to go to the classrooms and all that kind of stuff. And then there was another school, I guess maybe that's the same one as yours, where the pre-K classrooms are kind of like off to the side. So we had to learn about even if you figured out how to get into the school, where you're supposed to park versus like, you don't know these things. And so like checking it out first before actually going for an interview, and then just like walking all around, because so many times for these 215 classes when I'm meeting with the principals for the first time, I don't know where I'm going. And I literally am just like walking around looking for the entrance to the front of the schools because they are so strange. They're not just like, hey, here's the front. And could you imagine if that was a job interview?
Yep, that happened to me last Friday. I had to go to Abbeville High School. I'm from Dothan.
Why is there not like a clear entrance to this?
Exactly. Y'all are parked. I knew I was in the right vicinity, but the gym is in the front. So has anybody ever seen Abbeville High School? Okay, so their front office is in the front and the gym is in the front. So I was walking in the gym door because they have both of them on the front, and I'm thinking, I caught it once I started walking, and I stopped and I turned around, and then I went to the next door. So just small things like that. It happens.
Hidden Lake has a clear entrance to the school. Listenview
Yes.
has a clear entrance to the school. These other schools, I don't know what's going on with
Right.
them.
And that's like also with some of the high schools, or if they've changed names or schools, like with Dothan City, a lot of school names have either changed or they've closed them. So if you're not from Dothan, you may not know that Northview is no longer Northview. It's Dothan High. But if you Google it, they still have that old address. So is that fair to some individuals? So that's why I say go do your research beforehand, before you go, because you don't want to be lost. That's very frustrating. So with me, I knew where it was, but some of my counterparts or, friends, they may not know if they have interviews or things like that because they've actually changed the names. So the old Dothan High is Dothan Prep. But if you look on there, the addresses haven't been updated. So just small things like that. So any other questions or comments? Okay. So this is do's and don'ts at interviews. You always want to display good manners and body language. Take deep breaths and exhale slowly. It's natural to be nervous, but remember you have practice and you will be fine. So that's why I say take some time. You get called for that interview like on a Monday, start prepping. It's okay. Put 2 or 3 questions out a day. I'm pretty sure you can make some time or fit that in your schedule to try to answer a couple questions a day. Give a firm handshake, but not too firm. I know since COVID, most interviewers, they're not shaking hands. They may do a fist bump. I had someone to do that to me in an interview, and I'm thinking, okay. But be uniquely you. Be honest. Be polite. Be positive, and always smile. If you don't know an answer to something and you're thinking, just smile. My smile has gotten me through a lot of things. I just laugh and I smile and I try to figure it out. Or if you didn't hear a person, ask them to repeat it. Some individuals are still wearing masks, or you may have on a mask and they may not can hear you properly, or you may not hear them or what they're saying. So just don't assume they may have asked you a certain question. If you weren't for sure or you're not certain, just ask them to repeat it. Sometimes I found asking them to repeat questions gives you a time to think of something so that you can answer them. Stay focused on answering the questions without taking a long time. Your time is limited. So like I said, pausing and just thinking, don't sit there like 2 to 3 minutes trying to think of an answer. So I would say never speak negatively about a past employer, but word your responses on what you've learned from your experiences. Because they may ask you of things in your past, or how did you handle this certain situation? So just try to have some answers for them of how you did handle it, or what would you do if you were in that situation, if you've never had that type of situation happen. You may ask the interviewer when you can expect a follow-up. I always try to ask those questions toward the end when they say, do you have any questions or comments? I always ask, how long will you think it, how long will it take you to decide or make a decision? Because you may have other job offers or other opportunities that may arise, and you don't want to be sitting on a job and not answering someone because you're waiting for this certain company to answer you. So it's okay to ask, when will you make a decision? How will I hear back? Will you give me a phone call or will you email me? Some individuals may send you a letter in the mail. So just ask those questions as well. Try to get business cards if you can, or remember their names, so that you're able to send them an email towards the end to follow up and thank them, or ask questions if you forget while you're in the interview. That's okay too. If you don't get the job, that's okay. Every day is a new day. Moreover, you may send another email to ask for feedback to help you learn from the experience, or you never know, you may be in line for the next opening. One individual, he emailed me back and he told me that I was a great fit. But in so many words, he just told me they were looking for someone older. I was thankful that he told me that, so that I wouldn't waste my time with applying at that company again. He said I was too green. I'm not married. I don't have any kids, so I can't just get up and go when I want. So to him, that was too green. They were looking for someone that they thought were going to be stable and that was going to stay in that role for a long time. Well, that was fine with me. Do I think that was discriminatory? A little bit, yes. But I'm thankful that he did tell me that, so I knew not to waste my time applying anymore. So,
But also, where it's okay if you don't get the job, just because somebody offers you a job doesn't mean you have to take it either. You are interviewing that company and that person as much as they're interviewing you. If something doesn't seem right, if there's something that you don't like, if you get done with the interview, you're like, I rocked that, but I have some questions about some of the things that they were asking, or it's okay to turn down a job.
Mhm.
You might really like that job, that person, and the salary that they're saying doesn't sit with you. You can turn that down.
Mhm.
You don't just have to take a job because it's offered.
No. And sometimes if it's some things like she said with the salary, ask them, is that the best? I mean, is that the best that you can offer me? I have this, this, and this. That's the time to sell yourself. And sometimes they'll say they can get back with you, or they may change the salary. Because I'm going to be honest, most jobs are going to offer you that lowest salary that they can. It's up to you to ask. So just ask, is there a pay increase? Is that the best that you can do? Is that the lowest? But that's why I say always try to have you an offer that you give them, so that they'll know, okay, I'm not going to waste my time and offer them the job because this is not the pay range that they want. And some applications have on there, what pay ranges would you like? Or they will try, I always try to look for the pay description of what they say, the salary, before I apply. But some companies don't have it listed. So that's when you have to go in there and ask questions. And it's okay to decline. I've declined some jobs in the past. Did it hurt my feelings to say that? It did, because I'm a very nice person and I didn't want to hurt them. But I didn't think that was going to be a good fit for me once they explained my roles and the salary that they were going to try to pay me. You don't want people to put off too much on you. You're fresh, you're new into these roles. So if you think it's going to be too much and cause you too much stress, how are you going to help someone else when you're not? Okay. So just always think of those things too. Right? And so this is just some examples of like some dress codes. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So depending on what type of jobs that you're going to, know how to dress. Either business formal, business casual, smart casual. And these are just some ideas. So over here with the women, which one do you think that you need to go into the field and dress? How do you need to dress?
Business.
I would either say business casual. I kind of like the smart casual, but just depending, on if you're going to daycare, if you're going to school. I think all of them were covered in the formal. I think that last one, you could with the jacket, baby. Maybe she would have had a different jacket, but so just think about those types of things when you're going out to the interview.
It's good to know what the faculty and staff at the schools also wear. So like you're at Early Head Start and they wear scrubs. Do not come into an interview in scrubs. But that kind of gives you the idea of like how business dressed up do you have to be? Like if everybody wears scrubs all the time, you don't need to be in the suit like you're going for a marketing job interview kind of thing.
Right. So yeah, just know where you're going. And some of the schools now, sometimes I feel overdressed because they're allowed to wear jeans.
I cannot believe that. I mean, I think that should be allowed, but I just can't believe that.
Mm-hmm. So we can't wear jeans here at Wallace. So I'm always dressed and I kind of feel overdressed, but it's okay. I always say you would rather be overdressed than underdressed. Okay, so another thing would be, when can you start? How do you tell the interviewer when you can start your job? When you can start right away, you may say, I can start immediately, but only if you're currently out of work. So if you don't have a job right now and you're really ready to go to work, that's when you tell them, I can start immediately. When you want more time off, if you're working a job, I think recently I didn't want to come straight from a job and jump onto another job. I needed to move out of my office. I needed to get some things handled. So I wanted 2 weeks. I never really take off at work, so I had all this time built up. So I was able to give a 2 weeks notice and get that 2 weeks of time off. So turn that question around and ask the interviewer, what is their preferred start date for you? So just ask those questions. When you need to give a 2 weeks notice or more notice, this is standard, but if you're eager to start, you might be able to use vacation or sick time for orientation at your new job. And that's, kind of what I did. I was able to utilize some of my time so that I could have some time to handle some business, because you want to make sure you got all your doctor's appointments out of the way. Anything, if you have children, go ahead and do those things before you start a new job. I know emergency situations may arise, but you don't want to start a job and as soon as you start that job, you have to take off. Most of the time, your time is going to have to build up. So when you start 1 month, most of the time at like city schools, state jobs, you only get paid once a month. So your sick time doesn't build until after that month. So you have to just think about, those are questions that you need to ask. Some people don't like to get paid once a month. You may not be able to handle that. So your time does not build. So you can't go in a job and work 1 month and think, oh, I'm just going to take off. You may not have the time to utilize to take off. So ask those questions as well. Any questions about this? About how to answer or how to say? Okay. And then with job postings, there are many places to look for jobs along with working with your career coach. In addition, networking can increase your chances of success. Check out your local college board, social media, ask around. You can check in the newspapers. I actually have a career resource Facebook page, and I update this weekly to put jobs. I recently just put one on there for a Head Start director. I don't know if you've all heard of that company, Seared DPC. Okay, so sometimes they send me jobs, and that right now they need someone for a Head Start director. So most of the time they just need a CDA. So those are things too, you can look on that website, look on Facebook, and on the Wallace website, I put local job listings. So I list those same jobs that I put on Facebook most of the time. I go in weekly and update that as well. So individuals and companies are able to send me jobs that they have, and I can fix them, write them up, go on Canva and make a flyer, and I can put that on our webpage. Sometimes if I see jobs, I may send out to instructors that I think are really good jobs and good benefit wise. Sometimes I send those out to the instructors so they're able to share with you all. If you're interested in certain companies, sometimes it's good to walk in and you can ask, can you speak with the HR manager, and just leave a resume. Also have cover letters, but I'm pretty sure you all are familiar with that and you've done that. So let's see. Okay, and ready, set, go. So show up early, at least 20 minutes, know some facts about the company, smile, remain positive, patient, and respectful. Do not chew gum, and sit with posture. Watch your body language, it speaks loudly. And then we've already reviewed this, but after the interview, you always want to send a follow-up and a thank you, and the check back about your hiring status. Be proactive. So this guy, he's on that phone. So I know you may think, well, I'm sitting here waiting for them. I can just get on my phone and I can do some things. You don't know they can be sitting there watching you. They're not serious. They're on their phone. What are they doing on their phone? They're texting. So just look eager, like you're happy to be there and that you came to get that job. So whatever you do, don't give up on you. You got this. Okay? Any questions? Okay, so it's sometimes like the thick, like it looks like, it's not cardboard, but it's kind of like a firm paper, or it may be glossy. And I have that paper, so if you don't have the paper, you're able to come over to the Career Center and I can give you some of the paper.
I can use it on regular.
You can, yes. You don't always have to have resume paper. Sometimes it's just a little nicer. It's a thicker paper. So if you want to come and get some, or I can bring some over here because I have plenty.
Thought maybe I had some. And there's different types, like there's like linen paper, and it just like feels different.
It's not cardstock, but it has like that firm, like
It's, yeah.
so it doesn't wrinkle up as much.
Right.
And it also sets it apart from all the other papers that are sitting on somebody's desk.
And I've had some too, preferably don't use colored paper for your resume.
You're not Elle Woods. This is not Legally Blonde. Do not use pink resume paper and spray it with perfume. Please do not do that.
Right, don't do that. So, any questions or comments? Any other ones? Well, that's all I have for that.
All right.
And I'll hand out my business card, so if you ever need me in the future.
Let's see here. Let's get this.
Thank you.
And you said that you will, there's something that you were gonna send.
I have some additional questions that I can send you, and it was something else I thought I was gonna send. I'll go through, but I'll send it all.
Okay.
Because you can always utilize.
All right, let's see. Checklist. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you and your information to share. I'm just gonna show them what their assignment is and then set them free.
Okay. Well, thank y'all for having me, and thanks for participating.
Yeah.
Fun group. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
So if you do want to practice interviewing, of course, you can book an appointment with her. She can work through that with you. If you want to work on your outfit, I didn't want to point anybody out, but I should have had her stick around, where she could observe what you were wearing to see how that relates. But you can kind of see from her pictures, is what you wore today something that would be good for interviewing. I mean, I have a closet. I still have it from graduated college. I needed to start going on interviews. I bought my suit, and it has it's a blazer, and it also had a pair of slacks. But then it also had like a pencil skirt. And of course, because I'm me, I had to have it a little bit different. So it's navy with very thin purple pinstripes. So you don't look at it and you're like, oh, she's wearing purple. But to me, it made me feel better because it made me feel more like me than me dressed up in clothes that I wouldn't be wearing. So, having some of those key pieces that you can just, because I can wear that blazer with anything. I could wear those pants or that skirt with anything and kind of have some versatility to it. So check out the career closet, see what they have, and see if there's anything in there that you want to add as a staple piece in your closet. So as you do go on interviews, you have that. All right, let's take a look at what you guys are going to be working on this week. Is anybody going to go see The Wizard of Oz this weekend? I'm going tonight. Oh, it's not going to get me logged in. Okay, well, anyway, that means that Blackboard's having some kind of issue. But I do have, I think it's a list of 10 questions. And it's kind of those ones that tell me about yourself, any questions that you have. But that's a list of questions that Ms. Murph and I have as students go on interviews to different schools. You guys let us know what kind of questions they ask you. And so it's like the most common questions that our area has been asking you. So go ahead and just prepare those questions, kind of like you did your philosophy statement. So you had your philosophy statement that you just kind of finished each one about. Kind of do that with with those questions too. They don't need to be elaborate. It doesn't need to be 6 paragraphs for each question. Just answer the question. And remember what she said, answer the question, don't provide additional information. That's where we start talking, and then we say things that we shouldn't have said, or we're giving them too much information about me personally because I'm just like going. Tell me about yourself. They don't need to know that I like gardening and like making costumes, and like they don't need to know all that about me. But if I don't have something prepared, I might tell them all these things, and then they're gonna be like, is this person, they start wondering about how are they gonna be somebody who is so chatty that they don't get work done? Are they gonna distract other people? Are you gonna have time to devote to this job when you've got 6,000 other hobbies and you're telling me how you like to travel? You know, so you just wanna keep it very professional. So that's what you guys are gonna be working on over the next few weeks. If you would like to have a mock interview, I'm going to start that as a mandatory thing in the fall semester. But if you would like to test it out and just kind of see how it goes, you want to brush up on your skills, we can get that set up with Miss Knight.
And where would that be?
She's over in Gary Hall. So currently where the library is. And that's where she's got her career closet too to go check out. And it's open right now, so if you wanted to go check it out and just see, we can walk down as a class. I mean, we are still in class time. So we have that ability if you wanted to. So any kind of questions about assignments, how 215 is going?
So like, we just answer?
You're just answering them. That's it.
We're not making a video right here.
No,
Oh.
you're just answering them.
You just answer the question.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I did
during
wonder.
COVID time when we couldn't actually see each other, I made people video their
Okay.
answers. So that might be, so maybe I still have that up there. Do I?
I don't know if you still do. I just saw that video.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, so that was when like people were just, we were completely disconnected, and that was the way that like I could still see that you are you and you're the one taking the class and not somebody else. But yeah, so you're just answering those questions.
When's it due?
It is due. I wish I could pull up Blackboard, but I can't. Hold on, I've got the printout schedule though.
I think so, 'cause,
I
yeah,
think so.
we're done, but the last week of April. Okay. Is it in week 15?
So it'll be due week 15, so. Due dates for week 15 are May 1st.
Okay.
And so this is your final thing for this class. As long as you've done everything else, this is it. All right, I'm gonna hit stop recording here.